Gentlemen, this is a distinct two-part series of questions. One has to do with the team that won, Arizona, and they live in, if not the best division in football, certainly the deepest. There are no bad teams in the NFC West. Lewis, where does this Cardinal team, in your estimation, fit in out west?
I think it fits in right there. Look, they're going to be right there all the way to the end. Why? Because I think tonight, Scott, they found their identity, and that is they want to be a hard-nosed, tough football team. They don't want it to be just a throwing football team. And look, Cliff Kingsbury made that point to us very definitively, and you saw it tonight with the way they ran the football and the way Kenyon Drake ran the football. So I think if they can do that and your starting quarterback can go 9 for 24, I think that what that's telling you is you're a pretty well-rounded football team, and you can compete with anyone.
I think on the defensive side, we learned something tonight from the Arizona Cardinals. Vance Joseph called a very aggressive game, which we didn't know how he was going to call it coming in with all the weapons that Dallas has on the offensive side. But if this defense, which was one of the worst in the NFL a year ago, if they can continue to improve, now I think Arizona might have something going in the NFC West.
Brian, I'll stay with you and with Dallas. Look, Andy Dalton was a guy that was a capable starter for many years with Cincinnati. No, they weren't great, but they were a playoff team. And Dak goes down, and you've got a guy who's done it at least. And there were many that thought you could plug him in and it might look something like the Dallas offense had looked. Where does Dallas go after a performance like this?
You know, I can't put it all at the feet of Andy Dalton, Scott. I anticipated that he would come in and play better. He did not tonight. Now, there were a lot of factors that went into that.
Sure.
This team broke down because of the lack of leadership on the offensive side. They missed Dak more than they recognized. Ezekiel Elliott, you can't put the ball on the ground 2 times in the first half, and now you're down 21-0. Your best players, a.k.a. Zeke Elliott, have to play their best games, and they didn't tonight. Michael Gallup drops a touchdown. It was a collective effort from the Cowboys tonight. Where they go from here, Scott, it is not an easy answer because Tyron Smith's not walking back through the door. Lael Collins, Travis Frederick up front, they're not coming back. So on the offensive line, they'll get Zach Martin back, but they have to look at this film, and in particular, Kellen Moore has to find a way to get more production.
That pretty much sums it up, doesn't it? Because, look, there's not – you know what? It really is going to come down to leadership. And I know that sounds simplistic, but it's also the reality. Leadership from ownership, leadership from the coaching staff, leadership from the best players on this team, as Brian was referencing. That means Ezekiel Elliott. You have to say, look, I wasn't good enough tonight. I carry the fortunes of the franchise in my hands every time I run the ball. I laid it out there for the other team. So that's on me. Michael Gallup's got to say, I got to make those plays. Amari Cooper's got to say, I got to break a big one. CeeDee Lamb, all those guys have to make up for some of the shortcomings that they have, because if there's one thing every team is saying this year is this: we don't want to hear any excuses. And although their offensive line's been decimated and their defense has been poor, there's no excuse. You're in a weak division. Find a way to get it done, because if you don't, you're going to be facing those same questions that really people ask of Dallas every year. What is going on down there? In the offseason, it's always Dallas has weapons. Dallas has all these guys that can score points. Dallas, 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 Dallas. And then they have a performance like this. Yeah. They got to figure out a way, because there's no excuses this year.
Yeah, but they get the good news for them is they're in a lousy, lousy division. And, fellas, it's not yet Halloween. And so we know that things can change. They always do. Some team will get better. I just ask you guys both, as you just take inventory of the NFC East, Lewis, and you can start, who do you think becomes that team that becomes better and wins this horrible division?
I don't know. But you know what? I'll take a guess.
That's a fine answer.
I'll take. You know, it's an honest answer, but I'll tell you this, just for the sake of like having a discussion. Who do I think can? Look, you have to give Philadelphia the benefit of the doubt because of the fact that they have a Super Bowl winning head coach. They still have their franchise quarterback who almost led them to a victory, and they still have some good pieces, although they're getting hit with injuries too. That's where I would put my money. But it's not. I wouldn't put a lot of money.
Not a lot of money.
I'm not putting my money with any of these teams.
I wouldn't put a lot of money. Yeah, I'd use some of your money, Scott.
I would take 2 teams out of the NFC West, Scotty, and nobody out of the East. Maybe we need to make that change.
Okay, that's not allowed by law. And, Lewis, you keep your hands out of my pocket, okay? My money's off limits. I'm not putting any money on anybody either. Look, it's a mess. But at least, look, there's other divisions where 2 and 4, you'd be done. But Dallas can wake up and go, hey, we're just fine, maybe. Gentlemen, I'll talk to you guys next week. Got a good one there out in L.A. Be safe, travel well.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.